If someone could show how the pyramids were built in the time that the pyramids were supposedly built.
You're saying aliens built the pyramids?
Something other than human beings.
Something other than humans?
Yes.
You want to do an interview?
You know what? I was running by and I was thinking things and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should.
Great, cool.
What's your name?
My name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
Reed. Spero. Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
Hi. How do you spell that?
Spero.
Spero, gotcha. Yeah, so what I do here is I have a YouTube channel and a hobby where I just chat with people really about anything.
You know what? That's very cool.
And typically it's best if it's some kind of deeply held belief, something you really think is true, something that matters to you.
Yeah, you know, it's ironic. I don't believe there's coincidences. I run a million times up and down here and I've not seen you, so.
Okay. No coincidences?
No.
Want to talk about that or something else?
Yeah, no, I think no coincidences.
Okay. Could I get a sense of your confidence that is true, that's accurate?
I believe that there are no coincidences.
Say on a scale from 0 to 100, your confidence?
I would say my confidence is 99.5.
99.5, okay.
But there are no coincidences if you are open to believing that there are no coincidences. I think that if you're connected to the source or the universe or some kind of higher energy, that there is no coincidences. Things happen for reasons, and if you are open to them, they will present themselves. Just like me jogging down the pier and seeing you and glancing at the sign and deciding that there are no coincidences. I think that we're all connected universally. We're all made of energy. We all have souls. And I recently read a book called The World is Yours, The Awakening. And it opened up my eyes. Although I believe that I was already at a point to be connected, I ran into the writer. He happened to have a book that he gave to me again and signed the book and said there are no coincidences.
Huh.
So the more that I have been open to that, the more that the universe is introducing things to me. And I think that we're all made of water. Humans are all made of water, and I think that water is affected by energy, thoughts, and beliefs, intentions. And I think the more people that believe that way, the higher vibration that they will be vibrating at. I think that the universe is at a place right now where more and more people are realizing this, realizing that, hey, I know that guy, but I don't know him, or hey, I know that girl, but I don't know her. But for some reason I feel connected to her, or for some reason I feel connected to them like I've known them from a past life. And most likely, if you believe in that, or the listeners believe in that, I believe, you know, if you asked me 10 years ago, you know, heaven, hell, we're born, we're here, this is our life. Now I believe that there's much more. I think that there are alternate dimensions and universes, and that we're all connected. So that's something that, again, there are no coincidences, that you run into people, that people are starting to ask the questions, what you're doing here.
Uh-huh.
You're asking people what their thoughts are and what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I think that you're open to it, that whoever's listening or watching the channel is open to the belief that something is going on, and not conspiracy theory, but just something higher, a higher vibration, a higher level of consciousness.
Yeah, I'd love to believe if this is true, and what I'm hearing so far is a lot of like what you believe, and I'm more interested in the why. So like, could we pick like one thing, like just no coincidences? Can we talk about that, or like
Sure.
the higher energy, or
Higher energy.
whatever you want to talk about?
Let me just think real quick to see if I can give you an example of a higher energy or higher frequency. Is let's see. I mean, if anybody's seen What the Bleep or something like that, where you realize that there has been studies that, you know, or I Am is another documentary that they've done studies connecting people's energy to matter, to water, to plants, that we affect people. So in that respect, that we're all energy and there's no coincidences.
Connecting people's energies.
Yes.
Okay, and you've heard of some studies and you've seen some documentaries and stuff about this.
I've read quite a bit online. I've watched some documentaries. I've read some books, some scientific studies. A professor scientist in Germany did a test on water. Spoke very highly and fondly of water. Listen, you give me life. You give us energy. You're great water, you cover X amount part of the earth, and put that glass of water in a freezer. They took the exact same type of water in another glass and said, you wash down my crap, you're useless, basically gave it negative energy. Put that into the freezer. When they pulled the two glasses out, the crystallization in the positive reinforced water was beautiful. The one that was negatively impacted or affected came out dark crystals. Again, you can Google it and look it up, but it's pretty fascinating. So again, just no coincidences that.
So, yeah, that seems very testable.
Yeah, no, there's some substantial testable things that again, I don't want to keep going on and boring people.
Like, it seems like something we could do if we wanted to.
Yes. Oh no, I think it's a study that if you want to, now if your intentions are true and your energy towards the water is true, meaning that you're not just saying something to say it.
Okay.
Again, that's where I think there's no coincidences, is if you have an intention for something. People say, oh, you manifest your, whatever it is. Well, if you really believe in it, it can come. It takes a lot more than just thinking about something or putting something on a vision board to manifest something.
You have to really believe in it for it to work.
You have to believe in it. You also have to put forth energy towards it. You can't just say, hey, listen, I want to make $1 million this year and not have a plan or do anything to make $1 million, even if you want to manifest it.
You can't just think in your room.
You can't just think it's going to just pop into your bank account.
Right.
But there's nothing that has happened in this world, in our world, that hasn't started off as an idea that someone created and then believed in that idea and then manifested the reality of it.
Okay. So it's like action plus these like positive thoughts, these putting forth of energy helps people meet their goals and stuff?
Yes, and the more people that believe in a certain thing, which is the coincidence or the source energy, if you and I both believe that, whatever, and we truly believe it, it's not just two energies. It builds up. It's almost like two energies together are four energies. Okay. And if there's three energies, it's six energies. So the more people that believe in something, if you've ever read anything about the 100th monkey, again, it's an interesting fact. You can, again, research it, but Deepak Chopra, Anthony Robbins, a lot of people refer to that as a tipping point, where a certain amount of people believe in something or learn something, and the critical masses somehow understand it.
Okay. So is this water experiment something that gives you a lot of confidence that this is true for you?
I think that it was a good example of it's something that gives some kind of backing to that.
Is that the best example of like evidence for it?
No, let me think of it. There's actually probably more. I just don't. I just was running. I'm not on that thought page. But for now, I'll say that's what it is. Since I'm, I've already kind of.
So I'm not saying this is the case, but if we ran that experiment ourselves, if we were like true in our intentions and did like 5,
I would love to see it. I'll go look it up on YouTube if you're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, just hypothetically, if we did it and it turned out where we couldn't really tell which cups
one
were, How
That
would
would
that
be
change your
an
confidence?
interesting. That would be I think that it would probably. I would want to see it. Uh, Now again, what you believe is not always what you see, but proof is in the pudding. So again,
Yeah.
you know,
So
that would.
yeah, like I'm trying to understand how we could know if we
If
were
it,
mistaken about this. What would we have to see to lower our confidence about it?
well, I guess it would be like kind of the same thing of saying, well, people don't believe that there's aliens, yet I can't see how the pyramids were built, just for an argument's sake. If someone could show how the pyramids were built in the time that the pyramids were supposedly built,
You're saying aliens built the pyramids?
something other than human beings built.
Something other than humans?
Yes, some kind of higher power. Um, they've again
And
done
then,
research on
okay.
to be able to move the, you know, 2 to 4 ton rocks and compile them into a pyramid
Okay.
is pretty much physically, even with today's technology, is extremely far-fetched. So to have it in the symmetric shape that they're in
Yeah.
is something that is kind of.
How would you feel about learning those things could happen with just humans? How if you learned that, how would you feel
Well,
about that?
I guess then that would dispel my belief that it was something different. If someone shows me something, I'm not an idiot. If someone says, "Hey, listen, you know what? The sun is now setting in the east," and they show a compass and they make the sun set in the east, and it's videoed or proven, then I'll have to believe that the argument that the sun sets in the west is not true.
Gotcha. So you value evidence.
I value evidence. I
Yeah.
value research, evidence. Again, not everything can be proven,
Yeah.
or seen.
Yeah.
We breathe air, can't see it.
Yeah. I try to value evidence as well, like base my beliefs on evidence.
I like to base my beliefs on examples and evidence.
Yeah. So, and by that token, by that idea, if I'm basing my beliefs on evidence, then that means there could be evidence that might change my mind. And I like to figure out what those kinds of evidences might be and seek those out to make sure I'm not mistaken about stuff. So,
I think that that's a great point. I
Yeah.
think that you should question everything.
right.
The book that I had mentioned that I read literally says that. Question everything that you're reading in this book. Question your parents. Question authorities, mentors, teachers, peers. Question everything, because you don't know until you know.
Until we know.
Yeah. So, and everybody's going to have a different opinion on something, but again, facts are facts.
Facts are facts. And for this no coincidences idea, is there any evidence we could find out to lower our confidence about that? To make us think, oh, this might not
I
be
would.
true?
So what I would say is if you interviewed 100 people and asked them, have they met someone without, based on what they look like, that they automatically don't like or do like? Not having interaction with them. Someone just rubs you wrong, or someone just. That's not a coincidence. That's got to be either something from a past life or some source of energy that doesn't connect with your energy.
So let me make sure I'm getting that. If I interviewed 100 people and what?
And you ask them,
Okay.
in your experience,
Yeah.
have you ever met someone before having interaction with them, so at a first meeting, that you automatically seem to click with or automatically seem to dislike?
Okay. So if I interview a bunch of people and they all confirm that they've had these experiences of where they've met someone and
I've
clicked
talked
with
to
them.
probably 1,000 people, and not one person has said, I haven't experienced that.
And
that's not a study. That's just a personal growth question.
yeah, how does that relate to a higher
Coincidences?
power existence? And
Well, I think
coincidences?
it relates that there are no coincidences, that people have met other people in different dimensions or different lives. So that's when I say there's no coincidences. if you automatically meet somebody, it's not, and you don't like them, that's not a coincidence.
What are you?
If you're thinking about someone and then they call you or send you an email, but you haven't seen or thought of them in quite some time, again, that's where I come with, is that a coincidence or is it energy that you're putting out?
Yeah. If we're doing emails and like nobody calls, how often does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know if it's emails, but say I remind you of your cousin Sid.
Okay.
You don't have a cousin Sid, but let's just say I do. And when I'm leaving, we finish the interview, and you're like, you remind me of my cousin Sid. I haven't talked to my cousin Sid in a while. And then your cousin Sid calls you. Is that a coincidence, or is it that you were putting out in the universe that you were thinking about your cousin Sid?
Could it be a coincidence?
That could be coincidental. Yes, I guess it could be a coincidence.
Could be.
I don't think that it's highly likely that it is a coincidence.
Why?
Well, because I think that if you are putting energy into thinking about your cousin Sid, that the universe is answering that. So you're right. Someone could disbelieve anything. They could disbelieve if your lights turn on and off in your house. Someone could say, well, that was an electric surge. Someone could say it was a spirit in the house. Someone could say it was an anomaly. It was blah blah blah. It is whatever anybody's interpretation is.
Yeah. Is each explanation equally likely?
I guess that they're all, if you, whatever you believe in. Now, if there's no power surges in that, it's, for example, if, no other homes in that area had any kind of power surges. If your building, no one else in your building had that power surge, well, then it makes you disbelieve or dispel that it was a power surge.
If it was just your room?
If it was just your room or just your apartment, let's say, your small or your, but if you call the power thing and they said nobody had any problems, and you knock on your neighbor's door, you say, hey, the lights flash on and off? No. You go to your other neighbor, the lights flash? No. That's kind of that makes you disbelieve that it was a possible power surge. Now, it could be anything else. It could be a lot of different things.
Would that be sufficient evidence to completely explain that away?
I think that you might need more evidence than that. I think that the more evidence you get, the better your belief of what the answer is.
Okay.
Someone could, believe that, they see spheres in pictures and that those are people's souls. You talk to a photographer and they say that that's the light shining off of blah, blah, blah. So there's, there are explanations for most things. It's, I guess, what you believe and how factual the explanation is.
How does what we believe relate to what's actually true?
I think it's what your perception is. So if I believe that, like, as I sat down and said that I believe that that there is a source power or energy that connects all human beings, there's, people that will believe me and people that won't. The people that believe me are the ones that have felt some kind of power source connection. The ones that don't are the ones that haven't.
Are those feelings reliable ways and sufficient ways to come to a belief in this source?
I would say, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
It's subjective.
It's subjective. If they're just going off this like subjective feeling, is there any way to tell if it's not true? If that's like their main piece of evidence?
That's a good question. I guess I'd have to probably think that through. It'd be kind of like a question of saying, I had a friend of mine that's a motivational speaker, and he asked, there was 1,000 people in the room, and he asked, if I was to offer $50,000 for someone to jump out of an airplane and you not knowing if the parachute was going to open or not open, would you do it? And almost everyone in the room said they would not do it. Out of 1,000 people, I think there was 4 people in the room that said they wouldn't. I mean, that they would jump. And those people basically said, you know, they're willing to take a risk.
If, like, is the person you're jumping out with, are they experienced with?
No, just if you were in a plane
Okay.
and someone put a parachute on your back and said, listen, parachute may or may not open. Here's $50,000. Will you jump out of the plane?
I guess it would depend a lot on who packed the chute, if they're
Packed the chute.
experienced.
There's a lot of different questions.
Yeah.
I mean, the question that the public speaker said the most important question would be, is the plane flying or on the ground?
Yeah, a lot of questions would need to be answered.
You know, so, but nobody really answered the questions. They automatically reacted to the question. They didn't ask questions.
They didn't ask
They didn't ask the
clarifying
questions of,
the
you know,
context.
hey, you know, is this glass half empty or half full? Well, the question is, did you just fill the glass or did you pour it out? It's not about, you know, or did you just drink it, or, you know, there's, so it's just interesting questions, that's all.
Okay. So you're 99.5% confident about no coincidences
Yes.
being the case?
Yes.
And you believe, just recapping, because of some studies and some personal experiences, and it's just your perception that
It's
it
my
is?
perception, my experience, what I've researched, and what I've experienced as a human being for 48 years. That's my opinion.
Cool. All right. Well, great. If you see me again out here, I'd love to
Yeah.
continue sometime. But
Dude, man,
this was
fascinating.
very
Good for you.
Sure.
I think this is a cool thing. I'm a filmmaker, so I'm actually doing a documentary on this. So
Okay.
on this and that book. So it's you know, again, I've never done a documentary. I've done 7, 8 features. 3 of them, 2 of them are out there.
Nice.
iTunes, Netflix. The other one's getting picked up theatrically.
Oh, wow.
Never done pretty cool stuff. You know, I mean, you know, some good actors, some names. You know, James Earl Jones, Bruce Dern, David Spade.
Oh, wow.
But never wanted to do a documentary until I ran into this guy, coincidentally, and I was wearing a shirt that said something about being a producer, and he asked me, have I ever done a documentary? I said, no. He goes, are you interested in doing documentaries? I said, no, I have no desire.
Yeah.
And he's like, what if it was based on a book? I said, well,
If you ever need someone to like talk about the other side, or like,
I think that, again, there's no coincidences.
so I could get you in touch with someone, maybe.
Yes, I think that would be awesome, Reed. Again, my name's Spero.
Ah.
It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Good for you for shaking the tree a little bit. Kind of caught me a little bit off guard just because it wasn't what I was thinking, but
Sure.
I also thought about it and I was like, there's a couple different things I could have thought about to talk about, but that one kind of just popped into my mind at the time. So
Sweet.
awesome, kick ass, man. I'll stay in touch with you and I'll watch your stuff.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.